Welcome to the Swipe Right Effect podcast, where we will be sharing with you the power to get unstuck by swiping right on yourself. Your host, author C.K. Collins, aka Kelly, gets personal with her guests, sharing stories of themselves getting unstuck with wisdom and guidance. Where do you feel stuck? Are you waiting to get your new life started after a big change? You've come to the right place. Kelly's book is available on Amazon and through your local bookstores. Look for the Swipe Right Effect, the power to get unstuck. Kelly's interviews with 10 friends from around the world unlock powerful truths to getting your new life started. So with that said, let's get started.
Hi, I'm C.K. Collins, also known as Kelly. Welcome to the Swipe Right Effect, the power to get unstuck. This is our first episode. Thank you for being here.
Well, I feel like a charter member.
You are a charter member for sure. This is Dr. Ramon Presson. He is a licensed marriage and family therapist and an author, just like me. And we've known each other for quite a while now. So I'm very honored that you're my first guest. It's pretty cool.
I'm honored. I appreciate the invitation. I know it sounds paternal, but I've told you I'm pretty stinking proud of you.
Oh, thank you. Me too.
You should be. You should be.
Me too. So on the Swipe Right Effect podcast, we're going to be talking about dating sometimes, and a lot of times we're going to be talking about actually swiping right for yourself. And but today we're going to start with the dating speedway. But I will let Ramon tell you a little bit about himself and maybe his books, and then we'll jump into the dating speedway.
Sure. Have a private practice in the Franklin, Tennessee area. Been a newspaper columnist, and that's one of the ways that we know each other.
Yeah.
In the publication that Kelly was leading. I was invited to be a regular columnist on there, and y'all are so trusting. I would, sometimes I'd be serious, and sometimes it was just pure comedy. But that is kind of my comic relief is what kind of keeps me sane from the serious work of doing couples therapy.
Right.
But
I imagine.
and the books are serious, but my wife, who I think you've met, Dory and I've been married 35 years, and we have 2 young adult sons. I'm going to be officiating Cameron's wedding in October, and I'm looking forward to that. He's a counselor, marrying another counselor.
Oh wow!
Dory's a career counselor. My oldest son, Trevor, is the outlier.
Okay.
But yeah, I mentioned to you when we were talking about doing this that something that I think that dating folks that I've counseled with have found helpful is something based on something I wrote years ago, using Egyptian hieroglyphics. That's right. We can't link you to the can't share with your listeners, your viewers, the link to that article. Because that was just so long ago.
Well, nowadays we call this exclusive content.
Oh, ooh, that's good. That's good.
So I have an exclusive.
Yeah. But I called it the dating speedway. And I mean, this is coming from someone, I grew up in NASCAR country. I have a photo in my office of me sitting in Richard Petty's car when I was 6 years old. So I like racing. I like going fast, but there's some cautions about accelerating and rushing.
Yes.
Dating relationships.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. So I think this is going to be a fun ride. A fun ride.
I hope try not to step on your toe. I'm keeping my feet over here, so I'm not stepping on your toes. But the premise of the concern about the dating speedway is that particularly in post-divorce dating or just later in life, there's often an acceleration, accelerating the relationship quickly. And then it often seems to end quickly, sort of the proverbial, it goes up like a rocket, comes down like a rock. And I understand it's challenging for 2 people in a new relationship who are excited about the relationship to pace it. Because it's
Right.
like, oh, we found each other.
Yes.
And there's that line in When Harry Met Sally. When you find the person you want to spend the rest of your life with, you want to your life to start as soon as possible.
Right.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
But at the risk of being a party pooper or the line in a recent Ted Lasso episode, I'm sorry to tinkle on your toenails.
Yeah. Love that. Love Ted Lasso.
To be the killjoy, but there's a value in pacing a relationship because there's also a corresponding danger in accelerating the pace of the relationship. So often I'm talking about that aspect of pacing the relationship. And I share with you that I came up with an acrostic because I was
Yes.
thinking about
I love it. It's so easy for us to remember. Yeah.
Helps me to remember. Is the acrostic DATE, DATE, and the first, the D is disclosure. That one of the ways that we can accelerate a dating relationship is by accelerating deep and personal self-disclosure quite early in the relationship.
Mm.
One of the ways that we can pronounce intimacy is into me see. That, I mean, often when we, and particularly guys, when we say intimacy, they immediately think physical intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
But at its core, what intimacy really is you see me, you know me. And
so if someone is, because I've experienced both, the slow approach and what do you like to do in your time off and what makes you happy, and that really high level questions, and where do you like to hike, and just keeping it really fun. And then I've also had the opposite of that, where my date said, well, tell me your life story, and I'm like, well, I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas. Where do I start with that? I mean, it's too broad and not necessary. I mean, it's almost like anti-personal because it's so broad. And
yeah, sure. Tell me your bio, kind of.
Yeah. Well, like, just get on LinkedIn. Well, at that point, they don't know. They don't even have my last name at that point. But I feel like, would you consider that a red flag if somebody is trying to get to or disclosing too much about themselves or asking you to disclose?
Yeah, because here's, and I'm going to mention this principle and why the deep level early of disclosure accelerates the intimacy. Now, and here's the thing: if someone, if you want to accelerate intimacy, one of the ways you can do it is just go into the deep end of the pool as soon as possible and spend as much time there if you want to accelerate it. I always remember I had one of my clients say to me, he was all excited about this first date that he had, and he said, we're going to meet for lunch, and so we're just going to meet for an hour and a half, and we ended up being like three and a half hours.
Wow.
And then we went and took a walk, and I mean, it was like into the evening. And here's what I remember him saying that I reacted to. He said, we told each other everything.
It's common these days, I have to say.
Yeah. And I said, and he gave me some examples, and I said, so let me get this straight. What you're telling me is you both spilled your guts on the first date, and you think that's a good thing. Now I'm all for being open and honest, but there's a timing, aspect of that. And here's I'm gonna have to cheat and look at my notes here. In Mandy Catron's recent New York Times essay, "To Fall in Love with Anyone, Do This," she refers to a study by psychologist Arthur Aaron that explores whether intimacy between two strangers can be accelerated by having them ask each other a specific series of personal questions.
Mm,
The 36 questions in the study,
wow.
which I printed out, and
36.
I'm leaving you a copy. The 36 questions in the study are broken up into 3 sets, with each set intended to be more probing than the previous one.
Wow.
The idea is that mutual vulnerability fosters closeness. To quote the authors, one key pattern associated with the development of a close relationship among peers or in dating is sustained, escalating, reciprocal, personal self-disclosure.
Wow.
So the
That makes
principle, the
sense.
principle
Makes
is,
sense.
if I disclose to you, Kelly, at a deep level, you're going to feel closer to me. You're likely to match that level of personal disclosure. You're going to feel closer to me because you shared at that level. I'm going to feel closer to you because you did. I'm going to match that. And it said reciprocal.
Yeah, reciprocal is a key word for me there.
Reciprocal.
Yeah.
It uses the term escalating. I tend to think of it as, it's going deeper and deeper and,
Yeah.
and more personal.
Yeah.
So, with that principle being true, getting to know and sharing, expressing and hearing, increasingly personal information by nature increases a sense of closeness and
Right.
connection, which is wonderful. But I think we can do that too early. That creates this bond, which I'll talk a little bit about later, about what's the problem with creating a deep bond early.
Right. Well, I'm guessing it leads to A in the acrostic, which is affection.
Yeah.
So you said the level of physical affection and sexual intimacy ramps up quickly, perhaps even immediately.
And when that happens, not always, but one or both persons is going to feel an emotional bond.
Yes.
And that often means that one person is going to feel and want more of an exclusive relationship, or is ready to move this to more of a commitment earlier.
Right.
And
not necessarily both.
Right. And then that gap of either the emotions, the feeling of bonding, the readiness to take the relationship to the next level, the readiness to the desire to us be exclusive. If one person is much further ahead or gets there sooner, this gap creates a discomfort, an awkwardness, or some kind of tension.
Sure
where
does. Yes.
This can I sort of back it back down, or do I require my pressure push the other person to meet me? And that gap can create this kind of awkwardness and tension, and that gap can then end up being a wedge.
Right. Yeah, I think it's in one of the chapters, which is at the end of the book, about dating and the swipe right effect. I say you need to have been going out long enough that you can talk about sex before you ever have sex. Like there has to be and so I guess I'm agreeing with you in the gradual nature of that. And I think part of that too is, having learned from your past relationships, if you've had a failed relationship, if you don't learn from it, then you're just going to keep making that same mistake. Or not everybody, but most everybody. And so I feel like that affection is rushed these days for sure in that dating world, especially the online dating world. And I believe that, and I saw myself a shift after 2020, that I felt like there was a lot more patience for the acceleration to sex and affection. It was more patience before COVID than after. And I'm not sure what that is, but I feel like in my conversations with people, I see it on both sides. It's kind of like, well, I want to know whether it's going to work or not. I don't want to waste any time. And I feel like that not waste any time mindset came from COVID. I mean, I'm sure some people always had it, but I do feel like there's been a shift, and I've seen women talking about it in like closed Facebook groups, and that it's been a common theme that most women are seeing as they're dating. And for me personally, it made me actually want to slow things down, because life's short. Why would you be putting yourself out there to fail over and over again?
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
take your time and enjoy it and get to know somebody.
Yeah. Well, and sort of going to jump ahead a little bit, but as you're talking about that, and again, one of the values and the needs of pacing the relationship, particularly among people who have been married before, or who are just, advanced in season of life, like I am. The mentality that I have heard and I keep hearing, Kelly, is that, well, because of what I've been through, because of my previous marriage, because of my previous divorce, I'm older and wiser now, so I know what I'm looking for and what to look out for.
Right.
And what I hear, the rationale is, well, then I can condense the observation, the evaluation. That sounds so clinical, but I can accelerate the relationship because I'm older and wiser.
And I know what I want.
I've
said that. I have said that.
Yeah. So, and I can spot it.
Guilty.
So I can condense the relationship toward before making a commitment. I don't have to go. I mean, I'm not in my 20s now. We feel, I think, a little bit of that time pressure, but we're crediting ourselves with a lot of wisdom. And what baffles me about that is, I would think, because of what I've been through, I would want to be, I think, extra cautious, because I don't want to be hurt like that again. I don't want to feel foolish. I don't want to go through what I went through again. And so it's fascinating to me, and instead of, and I'm not wanting folks to become fearful and phobic and, paranoid, just being wise, but that interpreting it as I don't have to pace it because I'm older and wiser, as opposed to I should pace it because I don't want, what I've been through is just too painful.
Yeah.
To experience that again.
Yeah.
And I realize, Kelly, that, I mean, to choose to care about someone, to love, I mean, we're never going to eliminate the risk, and I get that, but
yeah,
can I risk more wisely?
Yeah. Well, I would say that the next one, the T in date, is the one I'm most guilty of.
Okay.
The time together, early, the couple may see each other daily, spend most of the weekends together if possible, go on trips together early in the relationship. I do think it is probably because I'm retired. Well, I was till I started doing the book and all of this fun stuff. That I had a lot of time. And so especially if I were seeing someone else who was retired or, had a lot of control over their schedule, right, I was wanting to dive in and spend more time together.
Right.
And so, talk about that a little bit. I mean, do you have advice on how the pace should go, or?
Yeah, because, and you hit the elements of it. If I have available time and I'm interested and excited about the other person, and they can, they are very interested, and their time, their availability kind of matches up, then why choose to spend less time together when the time is available? And the indicators early is this is this is going well.
Right.
I think I'd like to have some more of this. Like, all right, well, let's not treat it like an all-you-can-eat buffet, and we have to consume the whole thing within the next week. But, so
That's a good analogy.
but that, yeah, where we see the frequency and the duration of time, spent together. And I was thinking, as you're saying, how, you have control of your schedule. I mean, when I was, my high school girlfriend, we had school, I had part-time job, and our parents weren't going to let us spend a couple hours together, each evening,
Right.
and the weekends. And so there was these schedule structures as well as authority figures saying, you may wish you could do that, but that's not happening. Now as adults, particularly in that season, where if you are really in charge of your schedule and the other person is, you have to choose. And it goes back to that pacing. Well, what's the problem with spending as much time together as you can? Well, it brings in these first three. In this large amount of time together early, the disclosure and the affection levels are naturally inclined to accelerate. Sort of picture those large blocks of time are like this fertile soil for the disclosure and the affection.
Yeah.
To grow and take off. And that's, in a way, that's ultimately wonderful. But again, my caution is when that happens prematurely and too fast. I'm folks, therapists like me are the ones that are like paramedics getting called to a heart wreck.
Oh my God. A heart wreck. I love that.
Because it goes, it zooms, it skyrockets, and then for some person, and this is where it goes back to the one person, their heart accelerates and gets further ahead. One person, when it accelerates like that, what we usually see is one person will then like, whoa, this is
slow down.
Whoa, this is too fast for me, and the other person is like, last night I thought we were like, where did he or she go? And
you're not in the drive with me and the passenger seat with me anymore. I think one good piece of advice about the time together that I was given, my friend Beth, that we walk together every morning, is, do more casual things in the beginning, in the first month, in the first 6 weeks, just go to coffee. Don't go to dinner, start with coffee, shorter dates, then graduate to lunch, then graduate to dinner. I think because we're older, we generally have money and we just kind of go, let's go to dinner. But dinner, and not everybody drinks alcohol, but dinner generally involves alcohol. And there you're losing a little bit of inhibition. And so I feel like that's great advice too. Like choose wisely how you spend that time together. And that can also cause a pace, or set a pace. And just do coffee. I like the idea of going for a walk because I think it's more private than sitting in a coffee shop. So I think that's a great third or fourth date. You're in a public place, you're spending time together. It's kind of high level. You're not going to, I would hope you're not going to start having conversation about sex in a coffee shop when you're 25 people around you and you're having to talk over it. Like, let's not do that. But anyway, so I think I like her thoughts on that, if you're starting with the casual, and I think she's like the first 4 dates should be in public, like don't have somebody over for dinner for the second date. That's very intimate to invite somebody into your house. So I think those are some great tips to kind of keep it.
Yeah. Even if you knew for a fact, this is as a woman, that this is a safe person to have in my home. But just again, if if the goal is, the hope is, if this has the potential to be a healthy relationship, a good relationship, don't we have a better chance of it succeeding by pacing it than by accelerating it?
Mm-hmm.
So that it's not that, not just, let's not have the guy over or the lady over to the house so soon because, it could be psycho. It's, if that's a part of, deepening the bond or the
Mm-hmm.
connection, a bit prematurely,
Right.
then it's
And you do have to, unfortunately, be careful that you're
Right.
not saying, come on over, I'm ready to have sex. I mean, that there could be that perception, however misguided.
Yeah.
It definitely could be
Yeah.
considered that.
Mhm.
Well, let's also talk about E, if
Mhm.
you're ready to.
Yeah.
E,
Mhm.
expression of feelings.
Mhm.
One or both of you say, I love you, or I think I'm falling in love with you, or I think I could spend the rest of my life with you. Yeah, that happened to me, that somebody said it too soon, and it did make me automatically take a couple of
Mhm.
steps back.
Mhm. Yeah, and I get it. I mean, there's someone that would say, well, if that's, you need to be honest.
Right.
And my thing often in couples therapy is I say, just because you're thinking it doesn't mean you need to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can go both ways on the nice end and on the
Right.
mean
Yeah,
end.
just because you're thinking it doesn't mean you need to say it. And holding that for a while is not, being dishonest. It's I'm not either putting you on the spot or putting pressure on you. And don't I need to kind of interview myself, slow myself down, and ask, what am I wanting to feel? Am I wanting this person to reciprocate these feelings early? Oftentimes we've heard the term, sexual addiction or sex addict, but there's a term called romance addiction or romance addict, and it's not even so much about sex. I want to feel this thing. One time when I was a teenager, and I was telling my mom, that I had fallen in love again, and she said, I'll never forget, she said, I wonder if you're in love with her or if you're in love with being in love.
Yes.
I didn't like that,
Right.
but it stuck with me because I think it's a valid question. I mean, I barely know this person.
Yeah.
How could I love them? I'm infatuated. I'm smitten, but am I really in love with the person, or am I in love with the feeling?
The feeling you get with them.
Right.
I really feel like, and I know you haven't been divorced, but you talk to a lot of divorced people or people are potentially going to be divorced. And I feel like when you come out of a divorce, that right there is so incredibly tempting, that you want to feel better. You just went through hell. Divorce is hell. You've been through the dark valley and you've come out the other side, hopefully. And I talk about this a lot in my book, that you really need to choose yourself and work on yourself first. But there's this almost desperation of, I just want to feel good again. I know what it felt like when I was falling in love, and I want to feel that again. I deserve to be happy. I deserve to feel good. And there's this whole hamster wheel that you get on, that I look back and think I was in love with being in love, not necessarily in love with the person. And so I think there's a lot of validity to that. And I don't have an answer my answer to it is slow your roll and work on yourself. And that's the whole reason I wrote the book, is because I did 4 years of work when, if I'd done the work up front, probably wouldn't have taken me 4 years. So I'd like to help people fast track.
Yeah.
And do a better job than I did. But, it's also about it. I wrote the book out of gratitude that that I did figure these things out, and that my friends helped me. But I mean, I don't know if you have any advice on that. Like, how do you slow your roll, and how do you have that conversation with yourself of, are you in love? Or are you in love with being in love?
Right. And you made a great point, Kelly, is that, going through a divorce, and it's not just the divorce part, but likely perhaps the last months, the last years of the marriage were not just perhaps stressful or conflictual, but the likelihood that you were, feeling emotionally disconnected, and I'm not feeling special to someone, I'm not feeling, valued. And so you come out on the other side of the divorce, and perhaps I have not felt special to someone
Or connected.
And as an aside, when I think of connection, it's conversation, shared activities, touch, and touch isn't just sex, but it's if a couple is reporting that they are close and connected, we know what questions to ask. We'll find out that there's meaningful participation in enjoyable conversation, shared activities, and touch, compassionate touch, playful touch, casual touch, and intimate touch.
And if you've had that, and then now it's gone.
Now it's gone.
Now it's like, now you're feeling rejected.
Right. Well, and to a degree, when someone divorces us, well, we recognize I'm going to need to, because the condition of this, but the messages that you've gotten seemingly from the other person is, I no longer choose you. I mean, I don't know how to not look at divorce as at some level an experience of rejection. And not just someone saying I no longer choose you, but we've been experiencing not feeling special and valued and seen and heard, and the desire for that, and then the experience of that. I mean, we can be like a thirsty, parched person in the desert. I've gone so long without feeling special.
So it's hard to say, I'm still going to put the brakes on. I'm still going to slow my roll. It's very difficult. Because I'm here to say it's worth it.
Because that's meeting a legitimate need. To feel valued and feel important, to feel special by someone. I sometimes talk with folks about the difference between a desire and a need. That my response to an unmet desire, hope, or wish is disappointment. And there's a legitimate, and that's okay. It's okay to be disappointed. At the point that I make a wish or hope or desire and need, then I'm close to making that a requirement in order for me to be okay. So come Valentine's Day, is it disappointing that I'm not in a close relationship, or in the holidays, or any period like that? It's okay to want that and to feel disappointed that it's not happening. If I make, and I realize I'm not saying that human connection is not a valid need. I'm saying if the need is, I need a relationship, I need a romantic relationship right now, not just I desire one, want one, but I need one, then I get close to making that a requirement. And then if I don't have that, then I'm not okay. And what I've seen is the response to an unmet desire or wish or hope is disappointment. The response to an unmet need or requirement is either despair or resentment.
That makes sense.
Despair, there's something wrong with me. I'm not enough. My life is, unfulfilling. It's empty. It's resentment is someone's responsible. I'm angry. I'm resentful. I'm bitter toward someone who I hold responsible for this need not
Yeah, and I
being
feel like
that.
most people get there at some point, and then there's, you got to deal with the anger, you got to deal with the forgiveness, but I do think that the whole, expression of feelings and seeking that out and maybe doing it too soon is, I don't know, I keep saying slow your roll, but you're not checking in with yourself that it's desperation. I hate to use that word, but it really does feel like that when you're out there dating. And if you're feeling desperate, that's when you should stop dating.
Mhm. Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
that's when it's a need that I have in order to feel okay about myself,
Mhm.
to not feel anxious, to not feel just horribly lonely. Because I need to avoid feeling lonely at all costs.
Right.
Boy, would that take us to some
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast.
unhealthy relationships, that, I'll hammer a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah. Ooh,
We're not compatible, we're not
it's
healthy,
dangerous.
but you hear stories of someone stranded at sea and,
Right.
all right, they're going to drink the salt water, which is going to accelerate actually their demise. But
Right.
it's available. It's not ideal.
So
It can hurt me, but it's water.
So if you're
It's a
desperate,
relationship.
if you're desperate, don't drink the seawater.
Yeah.
There's some good advice. All right. Well, I love how you say here that you want divorced adults to find love again and to remarry if they wish, but you want to help them be smart and not unnecessarily hurt themselves.
Or someone else.
Or someone else. Yeah. So what are as we're wrapping up, I can't believe we're like running out of time already. This has been great. But give us some last thoughts? Like, how do you wrap this up with a bow for our listeners?
Yeah. Well, again, if we could see it as not being a party pooper or a killjoy, that, gosh, it sounds like that we have to be so clinical, and I mean, Dory can tell you, I'm a romantic. I remind Dory's my wife. I don't know if I said that.
You said
earlier.
that, yes.
Okay, that's good. That you can't spell romance without the letters RAMON. So I, the writer, the poet, everything in me is a romantic. But before I met Dory, I had the experience of doing some of these things and experiencing hurt. And I also hurt a number of people. And what I would hope folks would take away is that, because here's this thing, the saying, well, if this relationship is meant to be, it will be.
I've heard that a lot.
I've officiated weddings, quite frankly, where I just imagine God going, I can't look. I can't look. Now you can force a relationship to the altar. So you can make a relationship with yellow and red flags all over it. You can get it to the altar. At the same time, Kelly, I think I've seen folks take a relationship that really had the potential, two quality people, two healthy, emotionally healthy, quality, compatible people, who, if they had paced the relationship, that this really had the potential and the ingredients of being something really, really special.
Yeah.
So can we force something that is unhealthy? Yeah. Can we sabotage something that's healthy and has lots of potential and promise. Yeah, we have that much influence, either way. So I'm
Right.
trying to just be a proponent for, embrace the romance and enjoy the journey. And I hope that both of you arrive blissfully at a same place of commitment. But
Slow your roll and
yeah.
enjoy the journey.
But
That's your next book.
Yeah. But we can be romantic and wise.
Yeah.
We can, they don't have to be mutually exclusive. Well, am I going to be smart or am I going to be romantic? You can be both.
You can be both.
Right.
I love it. All right. So tell everybody how to get in touch with you.
My website is ramonpressontherapy.com. And if you have any questions or comments, as long as they're nice, you can email me at ramonpresson@gmail.com. And this will eventually get into an updated, revised article. And if folks are interested in receiving that, when that is available, I'll be glad to send it.
Okay. Yeah. And I will put your socials and your information for your website also in the description. And thank you once again for being my first guest on the Swipe Right Effect, the power to get unstuck. And
well, I'm gonna, like any other subsequent guests, when I see that they're on the program, I'm just going to message them and go, I was her first. I was her first choice. You're Avis. You're Avis. But seriously, thank you. I'm honored and I'm excited for you.
This was very fun. It was very fun. So thank you for joining the Swipe Right Effect, the power to get unstuck. And there's a lot more to come. So make sure you like us and follow us on Apple Podcasts, and we'll see you down the road. And with a slow roll.
With a slow roll. Hey, sing.
Hey, sing.